The receipt lay flat on the diner table like a quiet accusation, the tip line filled with a clean, deliberate zero, and in that moment the single, mom waitress felt something heavier than exhaustion settle into her chest, because she already knew what the world would assume about her before anyone ever knew the truth. Before the story unfolds any further, take a second right now, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen sacrifices, to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Ripple of Kindness, where stories remind us that one moment can change everything. The diner smelled of burnt coffee and warm grease, the kind of place where time moved slowly and dreams waited patiently in the corners. She had been on her feet since before sunrise, balancing plates with one arm and her toddler with the other when childcare fell through again. Her uniform was clean but worn thin, the blue apron faded from years of honest work that never seemed to be enough. Every shift felt like a quiet test of endurance, especially when the bills stacked higher than her strength. Rent reminders, medical notices, daycare fees, and the constant fear that one bad week could undo everything she had fought to hold together. The man in the corner booth didn't look like trouble. He wore a tailored suit, silver hair combed neatly, posture calm and controlled. He ordered little, ate slowly, and observed the room like someone measuring more than the menu. She served him the same way she served everyone else, with practiced kindness and tired professionalism, never asking for sympathy, never explaining her life. When he finished, he stood, nodded once, and walked out, leaving behind the receipt that felt colder than the tiled floor beneath her shoes. 0 tip. It wasn't just the money, it was the meaning people attached to it. The whisper that followed waitresses like her, the idea that effort didn't deserve reward. That struggle was invisible unless it inconvenienced someone else. She cleared the table with steady hands, refusing to let her eyes sting, because her child was watching, because strength had become muscle memory. It was only when she lifted the plate that something slid onto the table with a soft, deliberate sound. A folded note, hidden beneath the plate, heavier than paper should be. At first she thought it was a cruel joke or an apology written too late, but when she unfolded it, her breath caught. Inside was not a bill or a check, but a handwritten letter, carefully written, intentional, and unmistakably personal. The words spoke of observation, of watching her balance motherhood and work without complaint, of noticing the way she shared her child's last bite of toast instead of ordering more for herself, of seeing resilience where the world saw only service. The note explained that the 0 on the receipt was not a judgment, but a test, one that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with character. Tucked behind the letter was a card and a legal document, stamped and official, confirming a scholarship fund established in her name, covering childcare, education, and living expenses for years, not months. Years, enough to lift the constant weight from her shoulders and replace it with something unfamiliar but desperately needed: hope. Her knees weakened, and she had to grip the table to steady herself. No one had ever seen her before like that. Not truly. In a world that rushed past single mothers with polite indifference, someone had stopped long enough to understand her story without her ever telling it. The man was a billionaire, the letter explained, someone who had once been the child of a struggling waitress himself, someone who learned early that generosity didn't always look like cash on a table. The change didn't happen overnight, but it began immediately. The scholarship allowed her to enroll in night classes, something she had dreamed about but never dared to plan for. Reliable child care meant she could work without fear, study without panic, and sleep without the constant calculation of what might go wrong next. Slowly, the tightness in her chest loosened. She laughed more. She dreamed again. Her child grew up watching not just survival, but transformation. Years later, the diner was still there, but she was no longer behind the counter. She visited sometimes, sitting in the same booths, remembering the woman she once was. She paid for strangers' meals anonymously, left notes instead of tips, and funded scholarships of her own. She understood now that kindness didn't need an audience and impact didn't need applause. What mattered was the ripple, the way one intentional act could move through lives quietly, endlessly. If this story is touching something inside you, if you've ever felt unseen, or if someone once changed your life when you needed it most, please pause near the end of this video to like, share, and engage. Your interaction helps these stories reach hearts that are still waiting for their moment. And before the final moments, leave a comment sharing whether you believe small acts of kindness can change a life. Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs today. The zero tip never defined her. What was hidden beneath the plate did. And sometimes the greatest generosity isn't what the world can see, but what it chooses to leave behind when no one is watching.